Hey, how's it going, fight fans? Welcome to mindforcombat. If you're new to the channel, my name's Rohan, and this is my platform where I do fight sports related content. If you're new here, why don't you help me grow my platform? All you have to do is subscribe to the channel, like the video if you like it, and maybe hit that bell icon so you get notified every time I upload a video. With that said, it's a very fun video that I'm really looking forward to making. It's a fight that I never ever thought in my life I would ever be breaking down, and actually I never thought I would ever see either of these guys be fighting again, and that's the upcoming exhibition boxing match between Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. Now, I know it's technically an exhibition fight, but if you've seen any of the interviews, both of these guys are coming in there to fight. I have the assumption that this was just made as an exhibition fight purely for licensing purposes, and I'm not sure that, Mike would have been granted a boxing license at this stage in his career. And I know Roy was only fighting a couple of years ago, but who knows if he would have even gotten a license now for a fight at this level. So it's very interesting coming into this fight. There's a lot of fun to be had in this one, and despite all the the negative stuff that can be said about a 54-year-old Mike Tyson making a comeback, it's not like he's going in there to try and re-spark his career and fight some young buck. He's not going in there to fight Tyson Fury or even Derek Chisora for that matter. He's fighting another guy from his generation in an exhibition fight, and I think they're just looking to have some fun, maybe make some money for charity while they're at it, which is what Mike has said. And I have no issues with none of this. I'm really looking forward to this, and actually it should be a lot of fun. With that said, I'm going to try to do my best to break this fight down. Obviously, it's pretty difficult to break down this fight considering Mike hasn't fought since, he lost to Kevin McBride back in 2006, and back then, it might have been 2005 actually, and back then he looked completely washed. So what we're going to get from Mike Tyson, just judging based on 8-second clips, is kind of hard to do, but I mean, we've seen a little bit more from Roy, particularly recently. He was still boxing up until 2018, so it's interesting to see how this fight plays out, and let me give this a go and let me try and break this one down. So Mike Tyson's 54 years old. That makes him 3 years older than Roy Jones. Now, Roy Jones is, of course, still in terrific shape. He's still boxed up until recently, as I've said a few times already now. And I suppose the same can be said for Mike Tyson. He definitely looks in terrific shape. You've seen the videos, you've seen him hitting the pads where he's looked like a beast. But seeing someone hit pads for 8 seconds is different to seeing Roy Jones, competitively box still for 6 to 8 rounds, even 10-round fights. I would say that Roy's probably got a little bit more left in the tank, just based on the fact that he was still actively fighting not that long ago, but you never know. These are completely blind assumptions. I'm just having a bit of fun with this one. So Mike's professional fighting record stands at 50 wins, 6 losses and 2 no contests, and Roy Jones' professional fighting record stands at 66 wins and 9 losses. Now, of course, with Roy Jones, after really the Jeff Lakey fight, or maybe even you can say the Bernard Hopkins loss, that's the second Bernard Hopkins fight, he kind of went and started fighting on the regional circuit, so he took a dip in competition levels, and I think that was the right thing to do for an older gentleman like Roy. If you still want to keep fighting, just don't keep trying to fight the young bucks. But 66 and 9, he's a very experienced fighter, and they're both very, very experienced. Mike Tyson, now this is where things get interesting. Although Mike's a career heavyweight and Roy, in my opinion, was probably best suited for super middleweight or maybe even light heavyweight, Roy's actually got a little bit of height and reach on him. Roy stands at 5'11", Mike is 5'10", so 1 inch taller, and Mike has a 71-inch reach and Roy has a 74-inch reach. So Roy will enjoy a nice 3-inch reach advantage as well. But I mean, that's not the tale of the story. Mike is significantly broader in the shoulders than Roy. He definitely carries much more muscle density. He'll be the naturally bigger man despite the height. He's just a lot more stocky built than Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr., to describe his style, if you guys never saw him fighting, if you're younger, I'm 29 now, so but I'm still old enough to have seen Roy, when I was growing up in the early 2000s, fighting. I wouldn't say he was necessarily in his prime, but I still had a pretty good version of Roy, but I've seen all the Roy's fights anyway, so if you guys are younger, definitely go back and watch some of Roy's fights. Roy was a fighter that relied heavily on his reflexes, had great head movement, he was kind of hard to cat. He had cat-like reflexes once upon a time. He even come out with that song, He Can't Be Touched, because really he couldn't be touched at a time. And that's not dissimilar for Mike Tyson, really. He was a heavyweight, a much smaller heavyweight, but he relied on his head movement, bobbing and weaving, and in his prime, in his heyday, circa 88, you would see him dig to the body a lot. As he kind of evolved in his game, or you can kind of say de-evolved, I don't know if that's a word, but like his skill set kind of dipped when he started to become a bit of a headhunter, and he fell in love with the ability he had to knock people out. Now, of course, he still got the knockout, but I would say when Mike was the best was when he used to mix it all up and use his head movement. And I assume that Mike's going to come in here bobbing and weaving anyway, just based on the videos that we've seen. He still looks like he's moving around well. The key wins. Now this is a difficult one. I reckon you can probably do an entire video on the key wins for either of these guys, but just to name some guys for Mike, he beat the likes of Trevor Berbick, Larry Holmes, two Hall of Famers there. He beat the likes of Michael Spinks, Donovan Razor Ruddock, not once but twice. His wins are just ridiculous. I could go on, and that's just a couple that I'm naming off the top of my head of guys that I really rate him for beating. With Roy Jones, you can do the same. You know, he's got wins over the likes of Bernard Hopkins, which is an incredible win, all the way up until he was fighting Felix Trinidad. He beat up Felix Trinidad. Jeff Lacey at the end of his career, he beat him. There's so many good wins that you can count for either of these guys. Mike McCullen for Roy Jones. So I'm just not going into that in detail, but you guys will get the point from what I'm trying to say. The issues for Mike is going to be obvious. He's 54 years old now, and he looked pretty damn washed up in 2002 when he fought Lennox Lewis. That's 18 years ago now. So why am I to assume that Mike's going to be in great shape coming into this fight? He's obviously going to have been super inactive. And with Mike, you also got to question his mental headspace, where he's at. That's obviously important with every fighter, but with Mike, I would say more so. With Roy Jones, you're going to have to question his chin. Back in 2000 and something, mid-10s, something like that, he fought a fighter by the name of Enzo Macronelli, who's a really respected fighter here in the UK, but he was never the type of guy that would ever give Roy Jones any problems, and he sparked Roy Jones unconscious, and that was years ago now. So Roy Jones' chin definitely hasn't gotten better since then. Losing to Enzo Macronelli back then was painful for me to see, so you got to question his chin coming into this fight. Obviously, much like Mike, you got to question his age coming into this, so his age is going to be a factor, and the fact that he's not a heavyweight. Mike Tyson has forever been a heavyweight, so that's it. The X factor for Mike is going to be his power, his size, natural athleticism, and the X factor for Roy Jones is that he's still been somewhat active. He's not going to be super rusty like Mike is. Let's get into the prediction. No long story on this one. I think I kind of gave away my thinking process on this one. I brought up the Enzo Macronelli fight. If Roy Jones is losing to Enzo Macronelli in 2013, 2014, and being sparked out by Enzo Macronelli around that time, yes, Mike was losing to the likes of Kevin McBride and Danny Williams in early 2000s, but they're still heavyweights, and if you're going to get cracked by Enzo and you're going to get KO'd, then I really worry how you're going to deal with getting cracked by Mike. I don't think that Mike's going to be able to win a prolonged fight. After rounds 2 or 3, I think it's going to be all Mike. But I think Mike might be able to catch Roy and put Roy out. I think he's going to be able to connect with his power and Roy's diminished chin, where his reflexes ain't what they used to be. I think if anything, maybe the rest would have helped Mike Tyson, especially when he's fighting Roy Jones, who's a elder stapleman himself. So I'm going to go with Mike Tyson to win this fight, guys. I think Mike Tyson will probably connect early and probably get it done. And I have an assumption that the rest are probably going to wave off the fight early on this fight, because there's no need for either of these guys to get hit. And it won't be an early stoppage, but what I mean is, the moment any of these guys get rocked badly, I think the ref should just stop this fight at their age, having done everything they've done. There's no need for these guys to be going out on their shield like that. If they're rocked and they're hurt, should get finished. I have an assumption that the ref will be doing that, and the moment Roy gets clocked, he's going to get hurt. I think the ref's just going to stop it. But anyway, this is a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to this, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching, guys. As always, I'm Rohan, and this is Mindforcombat.